Hello everybody, this is H-Man, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be redoing my shadow tutorial, and this will be the updated version of how to add shadows to your Mario Kart Wii custom track using Blender 2.79. So to get started, please open the startup file that I included in the description, which I have right here. And once that is open, you are going to import your track OBJ by going to import and then OBJ. And I'm going to use my custom track jam track as an example for this tutorial. And so once you see your track, you can just scroll out and move around, whatever you need to do to see the entire track. And now that you have it in Blender, your first step is going to be relatively simple. You're going to add a lamp object by coming down here to add or doing Shift A. And then come down here to lamp and choose area. So the positioning of the lamp is rather important depending on where you want your shadows to be. So I'm just going to move mine near the edge of my model. It doesn't really have to be perfect as long as it works. And once you have it where you want, just come over here to this right panel and press the data tab, which is the area light icon. And there are a few settings that you're going to want to change in order to make your shadows look very good. So you're going to change the energy of the lamp to 3. You're going to change the distance of the lamp to something around 30 kilometers maybe. And this depends. If you want sharp shadows that are more easy to distinguish, you go for a lower number like 25 kilometers or lower. And if you want less distinguishable shadows and you want smoother shadows, you go for something higher, maybe 50. But my go-to number is probably about 30 kilometers. So now you're going to turn off specular. Come down here to ray shadow, change from no shadow to ray shadow, and click this rectangle here that has the black in it. And this is going to be the actual shading of the shadow. And I would change this to be about 0.5. Anywhere around there works. And after you've done that, change the samples to either 32 or 64. 64 is better quality, but 32 is quicker to render. And the area shape doesn't matter too much. I'd just change it to half this number right here. So that would be 15 kilometers for me. And once you do that, you'll see a square around your lamp. And to move the direction of the light, all you have to do is press R and move your mouse, and you'll see that the line is changing, and that white line signifies the direction of the light. And you can just keep moving around and press R to move it and press left click to finish, and just keep moving it to get the desired angle that you want for your shadows. I'd say right there is about fine for me. And after you've done this, you are going to go into orthographic view, and you're going to view it from the top. And to get into orthographic, you just press the number 5 on your number pad. And then to get to the top, you just press 7 on the number pad. And now you're going to select your first texture that you're going to assign shadows by left clicking. And you're going to come over here to the data tab again, which has changed icons as you can see, and add a UV map. And then press the camera icon beside the new UV map. After you do this, go to the texture tab, which looks like a checkerboard, and you should see your existing texture listed. And then click underneath that, press new to create a new texture, then come down to image and press new to create a new image. Name it shadow or whatever you will remember, and turn off alpha, and then click OK. And then deselect these checkboxes right here. It's hard to explain why I do this, but it's important in the end. So now what you're going to do is press Tab to enter edit mode. Come over here to the UV editing tab, press this browse image button, and change it to your shadow. In order to transpose the UV mapping onto this texture here, all you have to do is press the U key and press project from view. Now, you're going to want to make this fit your image pretty close to perfectly, so you can just mess around with your camera. Do not change it away from top orthographic though. That is very important for your projection of shadows. So just keep projecting it from view till you get a good size, and it can't extend past the image like it does here. It just goes barely across the image, and that's dangerous, and you want to avoid doing that. So in order to be very precise with your camera, you can press the N key while in the 3D viewport. Under view, there is lens size, and you can change this to be higher or lower depending on what you need to fit the UV mapping perfectly into the texture. And you can just mess around with that to see a perfect fit. And once you get that perfect fit, you are ready to move on to the next step, which is actually baking the shadows onto the texture. And to do this, go to the render tab, which looks like a camera, and all you have to do from there is press bake, and I will be right back. Alright, I'm back, and my shadows have been complete for that texture, and they look alright, so I'm going to move on to the next texture. And something that I forgot to mention earlier was that this method only works for flat textures, and I will show you the method that you use for not flat textures. And what I mean by flat is that it's only used on flat surfaces of your custom track. So I'm just going to click Tab to go back into object mode, click my next texture, which is grass, by left clicking, come over here to data, add the UV map and switch it to the UV map. And this is practically the exact same thing you did to your first texture, but when you get here, instead of clicking new image, browse for the shadow image that already exists, and all you have to do is click it and it should appear, and uncheck the boxes again, and then come back to your 3D viewport, press tab, come over here to your UV tab, select shadow, press U in your 3D model tab, and project from view, and it should line up relatively well with the shadows that you've already rendered. And once you've done that, you can just bake your next texture, and with that I will be right back. Alright, so my shadows have been baked, and they look relatively good in my opinion. So the next step is for me to add 2 more texture mappings for shadows by doing the exact same thing I've already demonstrated. Just come into image and reselect shadow, and then click tab, change it to shadow, press U, project from view, bake, and then I will do it for my last texture. Alright, and there we go. I am finished with adding my shadows. So now you can actually move away from your weird top orthographic view and you can look around and stuff. Please delete the lamp before you export your model. That is a very, very important tiny little detail that you need to follow. And now, since the FBX that is exported scales this up by 100, you are actually going to scale it down by 100 before exporting it.
So press A to select it all, then press S and move it a little bit, and then just left click. And then to open the toolbar, you're just going to press T, and you should see this little panel right here called Resize. Change the scale for X, Y, and Z to be 0.01. And once you do that, you should have a little baby track just over there, and press Shift C to actually zoom into it. And once you're here, you are basically finished in Blender. So right here, you press Image and then Save as Image, and you just go to your texture selection right here and save it as an image. I already have it saved, but that was before when I was adding shadows to the original model. So I will just go ahead and save it again. And then to export it as an FBX, go to File, Export, FBX, and just go to your OBJ path and call it course.fbx. And I already have it, but I'm going to redo it. And hopefully if you did everything right, you don't have to save your Blender file. So you can just close it without saving. So your next step is to go into Autodesk Fbx Converter 2013 and press this add button right here. Add your FBX to the Fbx Converter. And what you're going to do is change it to a DAE file by pressing Destination Format and pressing DAE. Then press Convert. And it should say Converted. So now I'm going to use Brawlbox because I'm not as good at Brawl Crate as I am at Brawlbox. That might not make any sense to you, but it certainly does to me. So you're just gonna make a new BRES, import your DAE that you just created. Let me see if I can find that. Here we go. Yeah, everything looks right in my settings, so if you just copy my settings, you should be fine. If you have any like see-through textures, or you can see the backs of any textures, you should probably make this col none, but I'm just making it inside so I can reduce lag. It's not really that important because usually lag doesn't happen on a track this low detail. So now to import all the textures in Brawlbox, you go to Import Folder, you go to your track location and press course textures or whatever textures folder you have all of your textures in. So now I'm just going to import all of my textures. Alright, so when you get to your shadow texture right here, you're just going to change the format to CMPR, like that. Keep your MIP levels to 1. Make sure your dimensions are 1024 by 1024, and then just press OK. I'm just going to finish up importing all my textures real quick. Alright, and there we go. So now, what you're going to do is you're going to click on your MDL0 file, which is under 3D models, right click, and add new shader. You're going to replace shader 0 with the shader 0 that I included in the description, which is going to be the normal shader for Mushroom Gorge, and then replace shader 1 with the shadow shader for Mushroom Gorge. It doesn't really matter what texture you get it from as long as they work, but I just included the Mushroom Gorge ones for ease of access. So now you're going to go to Materials, and you can see that I have all of my materials listed here, and there are only a few of them that don't have plus signs beside them, and those are the ones that I gave shadows to. So in order to encode these correctly, you're just going to add 2 references to them by right-clicking and pressing Add New Reference, or Control-Alt-N, add 2 of them, and then come down to your first one, rename it the same name of your texture, for example, grass, and then come down to the second one and name it shadow, and then come over here in this miscellaneous panel and change the coordinates to text coord 1, and you should see that your green lines wrap around where your shadows are, which works completely fine. And so now just click your material and change the shader to shader 1, which is the shadow shader, and then do all the rest of your materials the exact same. And change the shader to shader 1. Now, this next step is extremely important in order for all of your textures to appear correctly. You're going to want to move all of your shadow assigned textures to the bottom of this list. And you do this by right-clicking your texture or your material and press move down, which is also control down. So you just press control down, move down, and then control down again. And once they get to the bottom, it should be completely fine and everything should work as planned. Okay, they are all at the bottom. So now I'm just going to collapse them. And that should be shader 0, and then all of your shadow textures should be shader 1. Everything looks completely fine. So now you're going to go to this textures folder right here, and you're going to delete this texture reference called new ref because it will crash your game if you don't. Just press delete. And with that, I guess that concludes the Brawlbox part of the tutorial. So now just save it as a BRES file wherever you have your BRES folder located. I always organize my files like this. I always go BRES in one, KCL in another, then KMP, map, and OBJ. It just keeps things really simple and organized for me. So you just save your BRES and then close out of Brawlbox. And then you just do all of your KCL and your map and all of the other files required to run your track. And if you don't have a track tutorial accessible, I would certainly recommend Snicky's track tutorial or Billy Noodles' track tutorial. There are many out there to follow, and as a matter of fact, there is one in the works currently, and I hope that it is out soon because it will help very much. So when you go to SCX Explorer, just replace your BRES with your new and improved Shadow BRES. You just click your course model and press open. And once that's done, press save and close out of SCX Explorer. Now I will just demonstrate that the shadows actually work by playing it in Dolphin. Alright, so thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. I really do enjoy custom track creating, and it is my goal to promote custom track creating and teach all of you how to make a perfect Mario Kart Wii custom track. And please consider dropping a like and leave a comment if you enjoyed it. And if your track somehow did not work, please leave a comment telling me the problem and I will see if I can fix it. So with that, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.